Oh. We'll wait till we get a lot of problems. You know what? Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. Sorry, folks. We're just. I'm just checking on one more thing really quick. Because our other panelist, she is in, but she just got to the hotel, so standard fare, very standard time, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, thanks for showing up, guys. Welcome to the panel. As it said, the joy of cosplay. This is the third time I'm doing this, and I have a nice, wonderful friend here who supplies me with much joy in a liquid form. This is Wusky.
Hi, nice to meet you, Wusky.
He's we talked about this, and he's done some cosplay. He's like, you know what? I could actually use a hand in this because I have barely any idea what I'm doing. So I want somebody else up here with me to try to share the wonderful joys of building and crafting. And our other panelist, hopefully she'll be able to make it, Simjay. She hasn't exactly built cosplays, but she has done fursuits and a bunch of side items. But to start this off, yes. Well, actually, yeah. If you guys want, there are pamphlets on the back table there. They cover the very much rudimentary information. Hi.
Hey.
They cover the most rudimentary information for.
Oh, good. You brought me a dog.
Yes.
We have a dog. We're cute now.
Yes.
What? Yes. Good job.
Yay.
Thank you.
So we actually have. I suppose I could use them.
Yeah, we should use mics because otherwise it's going to be like last year. We're not going to have any voices by the end of the con.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Leave it.
Are the microphones on?
Just throw one at him.
AB. Are the microphones on? Sorry.
Lay down. All the way. All the way.
There we go. Hello, everybody. Hey, is it working? There we go. So, this is a panel that I just get really excited for because I love the idea of just like with fursuits, having a character, having a concept, going through, making it, and just sharing creativity with a lot of people. Wusky, like, how did you get involved? Like, he's been doing ODST. How did you get started off?
So originally I wanted to do some type of power armor cosplay, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And I was like, well, what's something that's really cool, but it's not overkill? So it's like, well, you have the Spartans, and that's overkill. Or a debate we actually had last night was the Space Marines versus pretty much anything from the Halo series. And it's like, well, I want something that's still human, but it's still awesome. And so I figured out, it's like, hey, for me, it was an ODST.
Yeah, so it's like there's all sorts of inspirations and all sorts of things that people go for. I also asked Simjoy to join us because she's done a few prop items, and you've also done fursuits, which is very analogous to a lot of the cosplay stuff. So
yeah, and I mean, I've been making fursuits for like 14, 15 years now. And you, like, as you go along, like, I mean, if you want, you can message me, I'll show you my before, and like, from stuff from 2004 and, like the head I just did now, like this weekend. It takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of, trial and error. Lots of trial and error. Other than fursuits, I've done like cosplay for my dog. One of my dogs, my service dog who's retired. We actually found pictures the other day of a duct tape dummy that we did for him for his chest. So we put the shirt on him, and then we just like wrapped him in duct tape. He's the most tolerant dog in the world. He doesn't care about anything. He's probably so mad he's not here right now.
Aww.
But he's hanging out with grandma. So, but yeah, no, I mean, like, once you kind of like get started, you start to think of stuff like that. You start to apply it to, I want to make a costume for my dog. Well, I'm going to take these skills that I've learned, and I'm going to apply it here. More recently, I'm starting to get into mold craft. So like silicone molds. If you guys know me, you know where I used to work. I used to work at an adult toy company. So I have some experience with mold craft. Some of my suits actually have resin parts that I sculpted. We also have it was a prop at Who's Lion for a while. It's a sculpture. It's a mold of my foot. And then we poured it. It was just we had like so much extra time on our hands that day. So even though I used those mold craft skills for something completely different, I'm starting to apply them to costuming now, and that really opens the door for what you can do.
So it's doing stuff. Doing stuff like this is actually a wonderful thing. It's and I've seen a lot of people. The funny thing is, like you said, you take skills to learn things and stuff like that. Honestly, a lot of it is really just starting with it. Like when, like a lot of you know, I had my Space Marine suit. That was actually a first time build. I mean, granted, there was a tutorial that I followed for it, but a lot of that was trial and error and tears. But.
Oh my God! No, this most recent head that I was working on, I still have a scar here. I was using an X-Acto blade, and all of a sudden, like, I have never once seen that much blood come out of my body at once. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, it was like, I don't know, I must have just hit like a blood vessel or something like that. But yeah, I had to redo a lot of parts on the suit because I don't want to give this customer something that has my blood all over it. So we had to redo the whole like muzzle because I'm not giving this to him. Like, that's a biohazard.
No, that's an actual interesting because as anybody that works on stuff, you get really involved with it and you want to actually produce good quality. And I will say it can get really frustrating at first because it's the same thing with me where like I was building my project and things didn't fit right. I couldn't scale it right. I didn't know how to do this, that, and the other. For me, it was a lot of trial by fire, but one of the things I love about this so much is that anybody can do it, and you can make anything. Like, as an example, this right here, this was made as kind of like a quick joke type of thing, but I did this in like a single night. Not exactly high quality, but I was just pushing to get it done. And this is just, drew up some plans, made some quick measurements, and just decided to make it. And the thing is, it's just finding a lot of inspiration for something you like and you love, something that's funny, something that's cool, something that's neat, and just looking it up. And the nice thing is that there's a lot of tutorials out there. There's a lot of people that have videos on the basics, how-tos of materials and stuff like that. But one of the biggest joys of this is just bringing an idea to life and living out that concept. So
I think really the big thing is that you don't realize, like, my first set was absolutely terrible. I was always adding more and more straps just to hold it together, or duct tape, or hot glue, or like, how can I make this look better? And you kind of realize after a while, though, is that through experience you can kind of do little things to manipulate foam or, fursuits to actually, without changing the color or even doing that much work, you can really change a lot of the characteristics and the aspect of the actual suit or the armor.
Yeah, so I imagine you guys probably have like a favorite character or something like that, a series you like, something. Like, do you have one?
Just well, my stuff has been sci-fi warrior stuff like that.
No.
Jedi Knight, Mandalorian that's been in the works for years. Stargate SG-1.
Yeah.
Like that.
So yeah, like you definitely have like a lot of ideas and a lot of drive for it. I will say one of the hardest things is just trying to find the time to get started. But once you get started, it's just like a cascading waterfall. You just keep going. You're like staying up at like 3 a.m. going, okay, just one more seam, or I can paint this one last bit and then I'll be done. And next thing you know, daylight's up. It's like, I gotta be at work in an hour. But no, that's actually wonderful. So that's what I'm talking about. Is like you have an idea, you have a concept, and one of the nice things is because notice some of the things you're saying is like some of them weren't necessarily a specific character. That's one of the nice things about cosplay too, is it doesn't have to be Darth Vader. It doesn't have to be.
Unless it's Hello Kitty Darth Vader, I mean, let's be honest.
That is actually one of my favorites. But it doesn't have to be a specific character. It can even be something that you come up with yourself. Like, you just throw it together. Like I said again, like with this is just a quick throw together. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make a meme. And make a meme cosplay thing. But, no, that's wonderful. Like, does anybody else have any, like, favorite characters or things that you like to do?
Well, like what I'm wearing right now, the Jurassic Park Park Rangers, you never see them in the movies at all. Everyone focuses on, say, Alan Grant, John Hammond, or the main characters. I just wanted to give a little homage to the people who probably be behind the scenes if that park were real. You have to have the veterinarians, the park rangers, the park security.
What's really fun is that where I lived in Arizona, like in the same neighborhood as me, someone had a Jurassic Park Jeep, like one of the Jeeps. Like it has its own Facebook page. So yeah, it was always parked on the side of the side of the street, so I would drive by it all the time. I know, I'm like, where am I? But no, yeah, it was really cool. So I definitely approve of any kind of Jurassic Park cosplay.
And that's actually my next project, the Jeep.
The Jeep?
The Jeep.
The
Yeah.
Jeep.
I've actually seen, I'm pretty sure like a lot of us have seen it, but I've seen some wonderful things like the Predator alien bike. I've seen some other like actual roadworthy motorcycles. And now granted, that's like a high tier thing. That's like welding and stuff like that. Beyond my pay skill, because I work with foam and I don't have the tools or the experience
My
to do
house,
that.
my house would burn down.
Yeah.
My freaking glue gun blew up the other day. I can't even imagine using welding too.
Yeah, when you got sparks flying there.
Oh yeah, it was like poof, and then all of a sudden, like the power in that room went out, and then there was like a burning smell. That's my second glue gun to explode. The
Yeah.
first one actually caught on fire though, so at least this one just kind of like, internally exploded, and that was it.
See, that's one of the we'll say fun experiences is when stuff like that happens. We're like, well,
Time to buy a new one.
I literally just sat on the floor because I was on the floor. I literally just sat on the floor and was just like, now I gotta go to the basement and pop the fuse or switch the fuse back on. But I was like, I just sat there like just in shock for like a good 8 minutes in the dark because I was just like, what the hell just happened?
No, I will say though that as far as like stuff like that goes, obviously you want to be safe. So like when you start getting to it, just pay attention, be careful and stuff like that. But it doesn't take much. It's but yeah, it's just one of the things I really like, and I've told people like even last time we did this is like even something basic. At least with foam craft, the only thing you really need is a knife and maybe a pen. Granted, yeah, and a hot glue gun, yes.
Yeah, don't forget your hot glue gun.
Yeah, or whatever, contact cement. Some sort of bonding.
E6000.
Yes. Oh, I love
That
it.
stuff is loved.
But that's one of the other things like
My pop socket's glued on with E6000.
But that's one of the great things is like it's literally anybody can pick up and do this. Like as you've done, and it doesn't have to be foam. It doesn't have to be metal. It could be any material. It could be cloth. It could be simply just putting together a costume. But one of the things I really love the most about doing this is just watching people's interpretations, making a character and bringing it to life, expressing something, having fun with it, making jokes, making people smile and laugh. It's one of the greatest things.
Yes.
Furry Bob knows a thing about that or two.
I do. Thank you for that.
So actually, I'm gonna put you in the spotlight now, Mr. Spotlight.
Okay.
Have you ever wanted to do like I should move this up.
Have you ever wanted to create some kind of cosplay, such as like an armor, or like, oh, I want to be a Ghostbuster, or anything along the lines of that?
Oh, absolutely. After the our first convention here, is Fallout themed,
Yeah.
and everything. And I watched a YouTube video. It's like almost like a 20-part series of this lady who was spent almost a full year building a set of power armor for herself to wear. It was true to the game, and I thought it'd be really cool to try to build one in like my kangaroo-shaped power armor.
Oh, I love that.
And that's going to take at least a year to do that. Because just the boots alone are just crazy.
Right. No, I can definitely relate because the Space Marine armor I built literally took about a year to build, and then even then I still worked on it, made modifications for another 2 years after, and I definitely learned quite a bit. The learning curve on that was a lot because I was like, you know what, this is my first cosplay. I'm gonna go big and go hard. Why, thank you, good sir.
Oh, thank you. No, I want one.
Get better friends.
Denied.
Oh, wow.
Like for me, I actually had a week of layoff at work, and so what I actually would do is that I would get up, I would work on a piece of armor, go to my second job, come back home, work on a piece of armor until I eventually had all this. And this is like, yeah, oh, it was terrible.
What is this? This is thick. It's like Spanish coffee.
And like,
That's what she said.
like for me, by the end of the week, I think it was like Friday, I was so burnt out of like, I was working on like the last 2 pieces that I had to cut. I was like, I just want to be done cutting foam. Just let me paint. And even then, painting was its own stuff because for me, I actually do a coat of wood glue because it actually helps seal everything tight. And then I'll do just the base black, and then if you do stripes or any other secondary colors, and then the battle tone. So it's like that alone took 2 days. And it's just like, yeah, they started knowing me by name when I went to Michael's. It's like, oh, I've been coming here way too much this week, haven't I?
At Joann Fabrics, they, like every time you go to get a bolt cut, they're always like, "So what are you making with this?" And I'm just like this. Okay, so I have a panel tonight that is it's at 4. It's called Iron Fursuit. And what you do is I bought like a bunch of like mystery items, and people have to build an entire fursuit in 1 hour. And you work in teams, so it's not, it's not totally hopeless. But yeah, so that was what I was doing yesterday as I went to go have that stuff cut. And she's like, "What are you doing with this?" And I'm just like, I don't even know where I would begin to explain that. But yeah, it was, and then she got distracted by my other service dog, so.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, good, I don't have to answer this question.
Good, I don't have to embarrass myself in public any longer.
I do that enough.
Yeah.
But kind of like what he was saying about like how you get to this point where you're like, oh my God, I'm so tired of cutting foam, I'm so tired of shaping, I'm so tired of something. That's why I'm like expanding out into like silicone molds, because all I would need to do is, I'm actually pretty good at just sculpting in general. Like I do that a lot. And so all I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to make one sculpture of the head, and then I can just make the mold of it and then pour the foam into it, because I have like liquid foam, pour the foam into it and then pull it out. And then the next suit, all I need to do is pour in the foam and pull it out. And it's just, oh my God, I'm like, it's such a dream to think of right now, especially after that last suit, because like everything went wrong with it. But it ended up looking good, so it was worth it.
Yeah, that's, so one of the things I want to kind of touch on is like what you just said is like, a lot of times it can be frustrating because you'll make mistakes, you'll cut stuff the wrong way. And that's fine, because the thing is, at least with a lot of the base materials, there's always more. It typically doesn't cost a whole lot. And one of the other things too is that as you make mistakes, you also learn from it. But sometimes when you make mistakes, you have happy accidents. Like something you're like, oh, I didn't know this could be done this way.
Happy trees.
Yeah, happy little trees. And one of the other things also too is like you said, where you're spending all this time, you're working hard on it, you're losing sleep, you're expending so much energy because you just want to make this done. But that's one of the also satisfying things is once you finally get it done, and then you can go out and share it with people. And like I said earlier, where you make people laugh and smile and stuff like that. It's like even at opening ceremonies where I just walked in with this, and all I had to do was walk up towards the front, and I just turned my head, and I just heard everybody just laughing. And I've already threatened a couple people about noticing them. In particular, Dragor. I mean, he is the bulge, so. Yeah, so that's what it is. Like once you get it, like even if you don't fully finish it, like this isn't fully finished. It's just having a lot of fun. Just enjoying the world of making something and creating it. Even going into the stores and sharing those stories, like, oh, what are you making this for? Like, you know, one of the funniest moments I personally had was when I was walking around I went down to a Games Workshop with my Space Marine armor, and we hung around the store for a little bit, and my friend and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna keep on going. There's a couple stores around here. So we went down, we went to like a Five Guys, we went to an arts and crafts store, and one of the most joyous things was actually going to a hair salon.
Oh my god.
One of the funniest moments from that was one of the customers that went in, she, I didn't find out about this until after I talked to some of the staff, but there's like a lady that went in, she saw me going in, she talked to her usual hairdresser, and she's like, yeah, there's a guy out there in a giant armor thing. And the hairdresser's like, no, there's not, you're making this up. Well, she happened to go up front, she sees me standing there like 7 feet tall, and she's like, she goes back to the customers like, I'm sorry I doubted you.
You're seeing things, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but just having those reactions from people, and just even doing other things like this, or like there's a friend of mine didn't bring it, but I made a chocobo helmet, and that's one of the other things too. Where as far as getting inspiration was, I was playing Final Fantasy with a friend of mine, not the online one, 14 I think it is, but
they stopped playing after 10 because after that it's like I lost count. What happened?
Things happen. World gets destroyed almost, but
this close.
But we were just playing it, and they have, around the chocobos, they have the little attendees, they wear costumes, they have helmets, and I literally went, that helmet is awesome, I want to make that. And I searched around, I found a pattern, which saved me a lot of time, because my current Space Marine suit I'm working on, I actually learned how to work with a 3D building program, and made an actual pattern on my own. Because part of for me is I want to get a little bit more into the competitive thing, and I can actually, when I go to competition, say I designed this from scratch, nothing. I built my own pattern. I built this myself. I put everything together. This is all me. But yeah, like with the chocobo thing, is I saw the helmet and I actually went through, found a pattern, and I was just so excited about it. And I actually made something and put it together with the lights and feathers and everything like that. So that's one of the things I really like for this year, for this panel, I want to focus more on is just bringing something to life and finding something you have fun with. You know, like call on you over there. Is there a character that you like, or have you ever tried dressing up as anything by chance? Yeah.
Probably Solaire. She'll just make the helmet, and it's like, forget that.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So yeah, that's the thing is like, and like I've already said probably 20 times now, it doesn't take much. It's just like with that, it's like, oh, I like Solaire. Go through, find a pattern or find a tutorial, or even like what a lot of people do, where they just start crafting it from scratch, nothing.
That's what I do. I can't follow patterns. like I always explain, like my one partner, he's like good with like math and baking, and he does the sewing machine, and I can't do that. I'm more of a cook, where I just kind of like, you know, I don't follow the instructions. I'm like, oh, that's about enough salt. That's about enough oil. And then that's how I kind of do my suits, is I just kind of go, well, here's foam, and then just like carve it in there. So, but yeah, me having the patience for a sewing machine is impossible. I need to learn, but it's just, I rage quit the last time I tried. And literally all I was doing was sewing like a straight line. That was it. And I was just like, and then I just like, I didn't even say anything. I just like stopped, stood up, and left the room.
Sometimes you gotta.
So actually one of the cool things I learned through actually building this suit of armor compared to the last suit of armor is that you can actually do some cool things by just manipulating foam. Like actually with like the shoulder sockets here, where you actually have the connecting joint there, there's a lot of stuff you can actually do to manipulate foam, where that's actually 3 separate pieces. And where you can actually really put the time and detail into, where that alone took me 8 hours just to build one. And I had to do it twice, and that was terrible.
No.
And so you kind of learn through that, like, hey, you can actually do little things on how to make certain kinds of cuts. Or like, I threw away probably almost half a sheet just because that's not good enough. Oh, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. So you learn through that too, of going, hey, when you do make mistakes, you still want to follow through, because each one I could see this one was getting better, this one was getting better. So the one on my left shoulder was actually my first one. That's okay. The one on my second one, oh yeah, that's a lot better.
Yeah, you always, and that can be sometimes a little frustrating, because as you go along, you improve as you work on something, especially if it takes time. Because like the first piece you build, you're kind of feeling it out. You're like, all right, this is passable. And it's the same thing with like a lot of artists where, all right, you started a sketch, you go back to it later on, and you're like, my eyes, what am I looking at? Because as you're building, especially if it's something large, it takes a lot of time. Like for example, with your power armor concept, the first piece you put together, you're kind of learning, so there's a lot of rough edges to it and stuff like that. But as you go along, you're like, this next piece is like, oh, this looks a lot better. And you look at the last piece, and you're like, I want to rebuild that. But one of the important things about it is don't get hung up on the details too much, or as I call them, I'm a nitpicker. I find the nits, and I'm the type of person that when I do digital art, I have to fill every single pixel, even if it's a 12,000 by 12,000 picture. I will actually go through and find every empty pixel, even if it's under a line.
And I'm kind of like that too. I kind of get like a little perfectionist-y. And I've noticed that if I kind of like time limit myself and I say, okay, I'm only going to work on this until 8 p.m. and then it has to go in the other room. I'll put it in the other room, and then when I come back the next day, it's like it's not that bad. It's like I thought it was bad. But if I was to keep working on it, I would probably end up ruining it, because I'm just like being so nitpicky about it, and then like I have to redo a bunch of things. So that's why I give myself timelines, or like time frame. Like that's it, and then have to put it in the other room, because if it's in the same room as me, I'm like.
Actually, me and Zed Fox were actually talking to one of my roommates last night, he's a artist, he's a full-time artist, and that's what he actually does, is that between certain times, so he actually has a part-time job, so from after 5 o'clock, from 5 o'clock to 4 in the morning, he has a set time of going, I'm going to work on these commissions from this time to this time. After that, I'm done for the night, and I'm going to go to bed, do all that. So it's actually smart if you decide that you want to, if you know you have like, oh, I get off of work at 5, but I still want to do stuff, put in the schedule going, hey, you know what, I'm going to go and I'm going to build my cosplay from 5 to 8, and then after that I have 2 hours to do whatever I want. So this way you don't burn yourself out, you're still able to put time in for yourself, and you know, because 3 hours alone, it really builds up after a week. You can really notice like, hey, you know what? I want to rebuild this piece because I'm going to make it look so much better.
So make sure you do your stretches, hydrate, do some warm-up exercises.
Like, no joke, work on posture, too.
Oh, that too. Like,
my God. Like, I came to Fursquared like 2 years ago, and what I just recently found out is a herniated disc.
Oh.
And it was probably caused from posture, because what I do is I sit on the floor and I work on suits like this. Like leaned over, like cutting foam. So you gotta kind of work on the posture, otherwise you're gonna destroy your back.
The other thing to go with that too, and I'm gonna nitpick you on this one, is that when you're working on something like the floor and all that, yeah, it's convenient because it's there. But like in our case at my house, my brother actually came up with this great idea of, hey, your workbench is crap. We're gonna build a new one. Okay, so we ended up making this really nice 4-foot by 8-foot bench, and it's right at perfect level. And that actually goes a long way, where something like this, yeah, I can work on something like this, where it's like, what do you mean I'm working on the floor? That's crazy.
No, I seriously need a workbench. Like, it's not even a joke anymore. Especially if I'm going to be working with silicone, I'm probably going to have to move myself to the garage.
Yeah, so
it's messy.
So I mean, really, it's that thing too of going. The big thing to think about is your prep stuff, and it's not even just more of a thing going like, hey, I need a workbench, or hey, I need the foam, or hey, I need this, I need that. There's a lot of stuff too going. Well, you get to start looking into prices and stuff. So for me, I actually buy almost all my stuff from Amazon because it's actually cheaper from Amazon. But
I wonder if foam is like upholstery foam is cheaper. Because it's expensive.
Actually, there's a website where you can get it fairly low cost, which actually is.
Oh, is it in there? Cool.
Yeah.
would you like to repeat the question through the microphone for everybody to hear?
I wonder if there's upholstery foam for sale on Amazon.
Yes, there is.
But I'm not, if my silicone experiment works, then I'm not gonna have to.
Yeah.
Not gonna have to use it anymore. Yay!
So, the other thing to kind of just briefly talk about is these pamphlets. So, these pamphlets actually have a lot of information in them. And this generally teaches you kind of more or less how to kind of go about how to craft with foam, what type of tools you need, the methods, what type of precision cuts, all that. Like in the materials, it goes briefly over like, you know, what's better, either cloth or foam for what types of projects. And on the back, it actually has different information on like Blender, which is what he actually uses for his Warhammer.
That's 3D program. And there's actually really good, like, I knew nothing about 3D, and I found a really good tutorial on it by Born CG. This guy's wonderful because he goes through every single aspect of the program and breaks it down into episodes where it's easy to follow. So within a week, I actually learned how to sculpt some fairly complex things, just sitting at my computer, spending half an hour a day, just learning how to do that.
And like another big thing is that to actually, even if it's not your kind of cosplay, like for me, I followed a guy on YouTube called Andrew DFT, where he actually breaks down the tutorial on how to do all of the stuff for ODST building. So for me, that works great. But for you, it's like you can still learn through the experience of watching how he presents how to cut a piece or how to do this or that, and then you can turn around and apply that to your kangaroo space armor. But this also goes over like paprika, which I'm not sure what that is. I know that's
paprika is a spice. Pepakura. No, pepakura is, which, if I remember correctly, literally means the art of folding paper or something to that extent. It's a program that came out of Japan, actually, believe it or not, if I remember correctly. Don't quote me on that. But it's a program that was made where you can use it to make a pattern and then use this program to basically fold it out. So, like, for his armor, for example, there's a lot of curves and stuff like that. And the reason why programs like this are so wonderful is like, okay, I don't know how to do this because I've been there before. Like, I took cardboard. Like, some of you might have done that, where you take cardboard and you try to lay it out, you put marks and you cut it up and try to put it together. Like, does this work? And like, I don't know how this gets done. And then you just get frustrated with it and you're trying to learn. The nice thing with Pepakura is if you have a 3D model, it can help you to convert it into a 2D format. And then if you're the type of person that you can't just freehand it or you have to struggle with that, you can have a pattern and it shows you how to make cuts to make things be angular or curved or stuff like that to fit a particular shape that you're going for. And it's really, really great that somebody has actually made this. It's so helpful for stuff like that.
So then with that, does that also print out the blueprint so then you can just cut it all out by hand?
Oh man, that's awesome.
You can actually print out the sheets. With Pepakura specifically, the only downside is that they're based off of millimeters, and it's based off of a paper size that is not standard. So trying to print it off on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, it takes a little bit of work because there's some slight scaling issues and stuff like that. But you know, the same thing as I keep saying, there's tutorials for it, there's manuals for it. You can mess around with it and stuff like that. It's just the same as any other tool. You just learn how to use it by simply just doing it. Because one of the other things I want to say, and this is, like, I cannot stress this enough, is there's no such thing as a bad cosplay. So, like, if you're to put something together, you look at it, it's like glue drips all over or whatever. Don't sit there and go, oh, this is trash, and throw it away. It's like, no. The way I approach it and the way I try to teach people or share with people is there's no such thing as a bad cosplay. Well, I mean, unless you dress up as a KKK member or something like that.
Yeah,
But subject aside, the actual crafting of it, there's no such thing as a bad cosplay. It's just you can always do better. And the reason why I say that is it can be very discouraging to sit there and like just down yourself, like this looks ugly, this doesn't look right. And no, like yeah, it could be better, it could look better, but you are still making something. You are still going forth and putting this together, which is by far amazing in its own right. You know, like I've seen people make cosplays that they didn't look that great. But you know, a lot of people say, "Oh, that doesn't look that great," or "That's not that grand," or "It's dumb," you know. And you know, forget that stuff. We already get enough with that with fashion shows. We don't need fashion show level critique in a community that supports creativity and bringing things to life.
The other thing, actually, with that is that, so like for my first set of armor, like you could see all the paint drips and all this and that all around the collar. But like when I got to, I custom made out a helmet. It's like, oh yeah, no, this thing was almost perfect. The only thing that was flawed with it was paint. So even then, the thing is that was something I made 4 years ago versus something like this. It's really that thing of going. It takes time and practice, and you can really improve on something. So it's even that thing is going, hey, if you make something and it's not the best, I mean, you roll with it, and then when you decide to, hey, I'm going to retire out my space armor, my Space Marine armor, I'm going to rebuild it to something better, or hey, you know, I learned from my experiences that these cuts don't work, or this doesn't work, that makes it very hard. So you learn through those experiences on how to make it better for the next time.
Yeah. And one of the other major components about cosplay is the first component is building something, putting it together. You know, like with you have the Park Ranger outfit. And when I say build, you don't literally have to like glue something together. It's like with what this gentleman did here, where it's an outfit, it's cloth. So obviously you're not going to hot glue everything together, use like rubber cement.
I mean, the most I had to do was just iron these patches onto a simple Carhartt shirt.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things I love. Like I've seen cosplays that were top tier that have actually won like thousands of dollars in contests, and it was literally just, oh, I threw this together, I just was crafty about it and whatnot. So I've seen top tier cosplays that maybe cost like $30. Now the other part of it is just experiencing the character, bringing it to life, acting it out, like with the rat guy here. No, you're fine. No, I'm not picking on you.
No, what about it?
But yeah, you like I've seen you like bring a character to life too. Like if I remember correctly, weren't you like at the murder theme one? You had the newspaper or whatever. Somebody like came up, you're like, and then you like pull out a fake knife.
Yeah, I did. Actually, as soon as this panel is over, I'm doing the Fursquared performance panel in the main, which is probably.
So yeah,
half or more of the people here are interested in that.
So yeah, definitely check that out because, like I said earlier, when it comes to cosplay and fursuiting, they're very much tandem aligned. That's one of the reasons why I asked Cindy to join.
Yeah.
Because she has done some crafting stuff, but she does more of the fursuit side. We're now doing introductions halfway into the panel.
It happens.
But it's just acting out and having fun. Because there's a lot of people that I've seen where they've had phenomenal looking suits, but they do this.
Yeah.
So basically, you every Fursquared until we start injecting booze directly into your bloodstream.
Just like Bender, I am booze powered. But yeah, it's just like acting out a character, or just picking up little things like learning how to do voices, which obviously not professionally, but I've been trying to do that because. Like for example, with the next Space Marine I'm going to build, I actually have little touches I'm going to put in because essentially it's a Viking in space, pretty much. So some of the stuff I'm going to do is going to get eye makeup to do the dark eyeliner around the eyes. I can get contacts so that they're yellowish because
Oh my god, I can't put contacts. I can't.
I can get some things.
I've tried.
And I've also been trying to, I want to do voices for it too. So it's like I'm sitting there like, I am a wonderful warrior. Gaze upon my beard and see how stringy it is. But it's just having fun with it and just adding those little niches here and there. Even if it's like not one of the major roles, like what you said, where you're like, hey, this isn't one of the major characters, but they still had to be there to make the thing a full thing. You know, Jurassic Park is good. But yeah, you've heard that joke plenty of times, I'm sure.
Which ones? The ones from back in the 90s?
Those ones. I don't even think those ones.
Just pick one.
Yeah, performance is definitely a huge part of it. I don't want to take away from the Fursuit performance panel too much.
Sorry, Bob.
Yeah, but I don't even know how many suits I've had, and they're almost all of them are different characters. And every single time I wear one of those suits, it is a completely different character. It is not Semjay in, a pit bull suit. It's not Semjay in my African wild dog suit. It's not Semjay the, demon dog. Like, they all have, like, different personalities. And when I first got my pit bull suit, a lot of people, he's a male character, and a lot of people were like, we can tell that you're a girl underneath all that. And I was just like, really? And they were like, yeah, you walk like a girl. And I was just like, how do guys walk? So I started watching guys walk, and I realized the difference is because, not to be inappropriate, but you guys have something that I don't. And that,
testicles.
Yeah, and that kind of gets in the way of walking a little bit. Not this, so you can't walk the same way I do. So I started walking like that in this suit, and people did not question that there was a guy in that suit. Like, there was people, I would walk by and somebody say, hey girl, or something like that, and then their friend goes, that was a guy. Like, what are you doing? So yeah, I mean, like, it's really important to you can't just, I mean, you can if you want to, but it's a lot more fun if you kind of create this backstory or this personality. It really, I can tell that it plays to people, like, versus somebody who just kind of, like, stands there.
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, sorry, Bob, we're gonna steal from your panel more. But obviously you two have fursuits, but anybody else here have fursuit? You have one? All right. Yeah, obviously, yes. Actually, I just retired mine today. I gave it.
Oh,
what a loser!
He burned it.
No.
He gave it a Viking funeral.
No, there's a friend of mine that I gave it to, and I was like, you know what? Instead of just hanging it up or throwing it away, I know that you love this, so. And part of the reason kind of goes into what we're talking about right here, where I let him borrow one last year because he's like, oh, I really wanted to do this because this looks like fun. I was like, all right, yeah, sure. And I didn't even have a problem. He enjoyed it. He lived up it, like, to the point that a lot of people thought he was me in my fursuit, but.
That's my other favorite thing to do. Is put other people in my suits.
But yeah, like, for those of you that have been fursuit, like, you've probably done this early on, or you've seen other people where they put on a fursuit and they do this.
And to be fair, you can get away with some stuff for that. Like, if you look at the Civil Protection Officers from Half-Life, I mean, that's basically the thing. Where the Warhammer Marines, it's going to be very weird if Zen just stands next to Alkali and just death stares at everybody and is not having a drink in his hand.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense for the character.
Well, yeah, it's basically. I mean, granted, obviously you don't want to work yourself too hard because some costumes, they can be very warm. They can overheat a lot. Like, even with the Space Marine suit I had fans in it, and even with the fans, I was sweating so badly in it. So obviously you want to be safe and stuff like that. Monitor yourself, hydrate, and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's not just a joke about, oh, make sure you stretch and hydrate. It's like, no, actually do what you need to do to make
before, during, and after. Like, no joke.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I lived in Phoenix for 10 years. I fursuited at Phoenix Comic-Con, which is in the summer. It's 117 degrees. So I learned real quick how to hydrate.
Why are you raising your hand?
Is alcohol a drink?
It is not.
I'm doing it all by myself. So.
Unfortunately, no.
Whoever wants to come on.
And that's the thing is, too, with that kind of performance thing, like I said earlier, there's different levels of doing it where you can do it true to the nature of what you're doing, or you can have fun with it. I've seen some ridiculous things, like the Hello Kitty Darth Vader I pointed out. Or even with Space Marines, somebody made a Pikachu Space Marine, and I'm not even mad. That's actually pretty glorious. I've seen so many crossovers.
Yeah, I like crossovers too.
Yeah, and one of the other things too that like I've seen so many people do with various levels of builds is they get into character of some sort. They like make a voice. They have motions. They don't just stand still because they put on a costume and they act like they're in a movie, or because it helps to try to entertain people. It's one, at least for me, like I said, one of the biggest things for me is just making people smile and laugh. And one of the biggest joys I actually had was I actually inspired somebody to build a Gundam suit because they saw my Space Marine and like, wait, I can do this now. And like she messaged me, it's like, hey, I'm actually starting to do this, and you inspired me. And I'm like, that is the greatest thing ever. Like that was for me personally, that was like one of my biggest achievements, was seeing somebody else go out and see something I did, or anybody for that matter, not even just me specifically, and going, this is awesome, I want to do this. And she did it as a first play, and it came out wonderfully well. So it's, yeah, like I even see you smiling. So it's just having, again, I keep saying it, but it's just having a lot of fun. Like, check the time really quick. Oh yeah, we still got a little bit. So, just enjoying the character, learning how to do stuff, and just going from there. Like, don't worry about stopping. Just keep going with it as much as you can, how big or however small.
So, is your character just an alcoholic, or is that just you?
You're not an alcoholic if you don't go to meetings. So, yeah. But, I want to, because like we're down to the last 10-15 minutes, so I want to open up, like if you guys have questions, because I don't want to just talk at you guys. It's one of the things I like about doing this stuff is I want to involve other people. That's why, like, I'd point at you, and be like, hey, what's this? So if you have any questions, like methods or anything, yeah.
I advise that if you're going to start into a kind of project you're interested in, I like steampunk.
Right.
Yeah, I love that stuff so much. Eventually, I'm supposed to be a steampunk kangaroo.
Right.
But there's no way for me to put it on without just roasting to death. But I'm starting small with that stuff. I'm starting to make hats. You might have seen Dragor's hat at the at opening ceremony.
I almost destroyed it.
Almost destroyed last night. It was awesome. Thank you for that.
Sounds like Zen.
But it took the bulk of it took probably 3 hours to do, and then just the fine details. Just start small. Don't go full on balls to the wall for something brand new and huge. Nothing about it. Just start with like cheap materials, closeout items, and work on that. You don't want to start with something like super expensive and wreck the material.
So yeah, that's actually a very important thing. I don't know if I even put that in the pamphlet for information, but always plan to have a little bit of extra material so you can test it. You can like see how the paint works on it. Will these things have a chemical reaction? Because there's, for example, with foam and certain spray paints, paints period, certain paints will actually melt foam. There's also some of it that will actually adhere to it really well. And there's, in one of the links I provide, to somebody that does a lot of cosplay stuff, they've been doing it for a while, where they go into that where certain paints can bond to the materials and whatnot, But always plan on having extra material just so you can play around with it. You can be like, how does this work? How does this cut? What does this look like? How do these bonding agents work? Just have that little bit extra so you can play with it. And if nothing else, you can even like just make it a fun thing. Like, I'm going to make a smiley face while I test this out. But yeah, no, that's very good. So, any other questions? Boozy.
Or any stories?
Boozy, do you have any costuming questions or stories? No. You have a wife and 4 kids, and you don't have a costuming story? No. He does.
I'll just throw this microphone at you.
What's the age rating for this panel? No.
Well, everyone here looks over 18, so...
Just no.
There I was in a leather Twilight sparkle outfit.
Go on.
You piqued my interest.
Just like my fan fiction.
He is your fan fiction. By the way, everybody, go write fan fiction about Uzi. And the gay Viking, as he so named me.
But he's a lawyer.
Oh, no, he's the gay black.
But yeah, sorry, you had something?
Yeah, I mean, this was actually my first time making an outfit. And I decided, do what you did and went out to a couple of stores. And I actually made a mistake on having these my shoulder patches like down here too low. And so I had to pry them up and move them up. There's still some glue residue down below.
Right.
And people pointed that out. I said, well, that's not glue, that's dino drool.
That's actually a really nice thing too. That's that. I'm glad that you mentioned that because with the for lack of a better word, the quote unquote mistakes, because like I said, there's no real bad cosplay. But with stuff like that, where you're like, oh, I'll just play that off. Or the same thing with like my armor, your armor, where as we wear it, it gets wear and tear. So instead of going, oh man, it's ruined or it doesn't look good, and like spending hours of trying to fix the picking out the little nitpicking.
We can just get away and say, oh, it's battle damage, I got it from this battle.
In fact, I've actually had people comment to me about that with my armor, where I've bumped into walls or other people, or I actually fell in it trying to run.
Yeah, I remember that.
I'll actually put the GIF of that into the Telegram chat. It was actually pretty funny. But I got back up, and the only thing that happened is a few things tore, and nobody noticed. In fact, the few times that somebody did know about it and they asked me about it, I was like, it's just battle damage. You should see the other guy. But yeah, so that's the thing too, is like I said, it's like those little tiny things. Part of that is also having attitude. That kind of goes into bringing the character to life. It's like, oh, that's not glue, that's dino drool. I'm a survivor. Something got out of hand, and I was a smart one and ran away.
Well, actually, I play off saying that I'm in charge of the herbivores and don't have to be anywhere near the raptors.
Oh, they're still pretty dangerous, though.
Speaking of raptors, I just remembered that I did do a Jurassic Park cosplay one year. Yeah, it was. I went as Owen from Jurassic World, and all of my dogs, I made little tiny raptor heads for them to wear. And we went to like this dog costume contest thing, and we won scariest costume. Because it was pretty impressive to have all 5 dogs. And I was walking all the dogs. And you know how in the movie he's got like the clicker, and he like doesn't use it like how a clicker's supposed to be used? Yeah, I was doing that the whole time, just like clicking it like way too much. But yeah, it was. I'll find a picture of it. It's pretty funny.
No, yeah, it's a lot of joy. So I'm gonna pick on the guy in the back here. Hi.
Hello, gray shirts. Welcome to the panel.
No, I mind you, I'm not shaming you or anything like that. It's like I said earlier, I just love involving people. So I was just wondering, like,
what are your inspirations?
Yeah, is there like characters that you enjoyed? Have you ever like tried wearing a costume or like bringing a character to life or anything like that?
No, I'm here because they told me this is where panel I thought was starting an hour earlier than it actually did.
Yes, this is that panel.
No, that's totally fine. I am not going to be ashamed by that. That's not going to make me mad. I'm just glad that you're paying attention to be here early. But all the same, I'll hope you're getting something out of this. Yeah, he's nodding his head.
I think a lot of it too, though, with the character is actually also knowing bits and pieces of like the lore for it. So like when you talk Space Marines, it totally goes over my head because it's like I only know the Space Wolves, where it's like the ODSTs. It's like there's a little bit of lore, but if you were to do something like say a Warcraft build, you can have so much lore over that, or like Fallout, you have all this lore. And you don't have to know it all for your character, but it does help if you actually know enough and you can build a story off of that before you take on a project. Because then it's like, hey, I made a mistake. Well, how do I cover it up? Oh, plasma damage. Done.
Yeah, or dino drool. I'm going to be thinking about that all day now.
By all means, if you want to, you use it against alkali.
Yes, that's the new con meme.
I'm pretty sure he's already covered in enough fluids throughout the con.
God, no.
No, he spills his drinks a lot.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
By the way, for those of you that are watching this, for the people on the camera, what Sim J was doing, she was going through and sharing the photo of, I'm guessing, your raptor dog.
Oh, yeah, I can show it to you too.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to see it, they can.
Yeah, we have like all sorts of. Oh, that is adorable. We have that's the other thing too is on these pamphlets we also have some of our information on there for like some of the videos and stuff that we do. So, and same thing with me, like on the YouTube channel that I have, which is very small. And I'm pretty sure same thing with you guys.
He only has 1 follower. Please subscribe, like this video.
No, don't do that. I'm not
0 subscriber special.
Yeah. I have at least one.
I have like 380 now.
The first 100 people to subscribe to his channel gets free power armor.
Oh my
Well,
God.
you're gonna be busy.
Yeah, you're gonna be busy.
But no, like you can even see examples of us being out in public, or with me, I actually specifically made like how I did some of the joints or how I put some of the stuff together, and did a clear showing of how it works. Because one of the things I will say that I am actually shocked about is there's a lot of people that do like really wonderful builds, but a lot of them don't share them. And there's even some that's like, yo, this is my precious. Like, dude, it's not a trade secret. You should share these ideas. Like, let somebody take your stuff and do even better. You're not going to be end all be all. You know, the whole standing on the shoulders of giants type of thing. Share with other people, and that's one of the things like when I was building my power armor, which kind of goes against what we were saying, is like don't necessarily start so big, and I did not follow that rule, which is why it took me a year to work on it, and another 2 or 3 years to improve upon it after the fact. The benefit of that for me though is like it did give me a learning curve, but there's a lot of people that do these top tier builds, but they don't share anything, and some of them are they'll even jealously guard how they did something. It's like, why don't you share with people? Show them how you did this. Let them also have a chance.
Do you want to tell me how you made that hat?
I stole it from a rogue.
That sounds very smart. I want one. I'm commissioning you.
Yeah, sure. $1,000. But yeah, it's.
There's 200. Get to work.
Well, that's 20% down payment. When I get the rest of the 800. No.
Hey guys, thanks.
Yeah, thank you, man. So yeah.
Thanks for hanging out with us, Bob.
Yeah. So it's getting close to where the end of it. I don't know who's in here next. Is it you,
Yeah.
Boozy?
I'm one of them, yeah.
Oh well, go ahead, come on up on here.
No.
Boozy, come share some con stories with us while we kill 3 minutes.
Oh look, it's the guy who always gets injured.
What?
What?
Hi.
Yeah, actually, hello. Hey, what? Where are my kids? What? Where are my kids? Don't worry about it.
We're trying to locate Boozy's kids.
But overall, to help kind of close down the panel,
Yep.
yeah, if you have this great idea, if you decide you want to do power armor or a fursuit or a crappy set of power armor, go through with it, do the research, look up to see, hey, maybe someone else had the same idea. Do they have tutorials or do they have, drawings? Like, can I go off of that? And if you can't, do it. But make it your own thing. You don't need to make an exact copy unless, you want to, then go ahead.
Yeah.
And just really make it your own thing. Like add the ammo pouches, add the funny looking stickers, add the Hello Kitty Darth Vader, which I can't believe that's still a thing. So just make it your dream.
Yeah.
Which I think that might be the quote at the bottom.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it says at the bottom. I added a little bit of flavor onto the pamphlet, basically.
You can read that quote.
Yeah. Yeah, it's on the pamphlet. You'll be able to read it if you pick one up. But it's basically, as an end note, cosplay has many approaches. Do it for fun. Do it for recreation. Whatever the drive or style.
Do it in your Warhammer voice from last night. From
Just
when you were
know
reading
that
the
it's
Bible.
your creation. Craft for fun, for love, free creativity, and share. It can be a lot of work, but it is always a great project with many ways to enjoy. May your crafting adventure be glorious. But yes, honestly, guys, thank you for coming. I honestly am surprised that we got through the hour with so much. There's so much more I can go on. So if you have any, as a final note, if you have any more questions or want to know how to do something, you can contact any of us, and we will be more than happy to share with you or give pointers, websites, whatever.
I've got an hour to burn while people are making a fursuit. So if you guys want to come and talk to me, then yeah.
In the meantime, I gotta go downstairs and ruin D&D panel.
So if you actually want a pamphlet, it's actually at that back table there, and like I said before, it actually talks about the different methods on how to cut stuff, how to actually contact us, some of the resources we use.
A lot of basic stuff. It's a very rudimentary guide, but it's a start. That was the whole idea. It's not going to give you everything you need, but it's a start. But I want to say thank you guys for showing up. Honestly, like I said, I hope that you have a lot of adventures, find something that you want to bring to life, and just enjoy it. That's the whole point of cosplay, is just to enjoy it. So thank you very much. Why, thank you.
Silver Gatoman, he bought me a coffee. Silver Gatoman, here is the song for thee. He likes to video all the panels at the cons. You should go and watch them whether they are short or long. Silver Gatoman, you video that's not a jibe. All of you go to his YouTube channel and like and subscribe.